Well, Bennett Kessler filed this following story. In weather, fire, or earthquake disasters that sometimes hit Mono County towns, many services come into play. However, the needs of animals during such stressful times have been left up to owners who may need to protect themselves. Now, the Mono County Board of Supervisors, Town of Mammoth Lakes, will consider a free-of-charge contract with a nonprofit group to come to Mono and provide temporary shelter and animal care services in times of emergency. Now, according to a letter to the Mono supervisors from the County Department of Animal Control, Town of Mammoth Lakes Police Chief Dan Watson contacted the county to ask that they join with the town to ensure emergency animal shelter services through the use of Red Rover. Red Rover is a nonprofit group that the Town of Mammoth Lakes is contracting with at no cost. Now, the letter says that Red Rover services include setting up shelters for animals, record keeping and identification, coordination of veterinary care for animals in need, coordination of food and supplies, as well as proper documentation and reuniting animals with their owners. Now, the Town of Mammoth provided a draft of memorandum of understanding to Mono County for consideration. The County Council's office approved the draft MOU, which goes before the Mono County Board of Supervisors on Tuesday. Now, Angel Nolan of the Animal Control wrote to the board that the existing animal control agency has, quote, limited capacity given Mono County's large size. With current resources, Nolan said county animal control staff would be unable to accommodate the needs of all the animals and the people who normally care for them throughout the county in the event of a natural disaster or other emergency, end quote. Now, Nolan said that the no-cost Red Rover services would be, quote, an enormous benefit and service to the citizens of Mono County and their pets, end quote. Well, over the weekend, the Inyo County Sheriff's Office received notice of a phone scam that's apparently targeting seniors once again. Now, the caller states that a, quote, caring relative, end quote, has purchased a Lifeline phone, but in order to install it, a physical address is needed. Now, the Inyo County Sheriff's Office, according to a press release, is reminding seniors and caregivers not to give out personal information over the phone. If you believe you have been targeted by a phone scam, you are urged to contact the Inyo County Sheriff's Office at 878-0383 and report that incident. And if you would like to get some information on how to avoid scams that target senior citizens, you're urged to contact the website National Center for Aging, and that would be ncoa.org, and you want to go /savvy seniors. Well, Southern California Edison has produced a short historical documentary film on the Agnew Tram located outside of June Lake. This is the second of 3 parts on Sierra Wave TV.
The old car used to have just 4 wheels on it with 2 axles, but they were stable. They just moved up and down. They didn't turn or anything else, so it would go around a corner and pop off a lot. So that's the reason why we decided to make a new car. The new car has struts instead of an axle. It's got 8 wheels on it with struts that move up and down and shock absorbers to keep it on the track, keep the tires down on the track.
The Agnew track climbs 1,290 feet in elevation over a distance of about 4,800 feet. Due to the precipitous rock slopes, the tram line was originally constructed as a wood trestle. However, the entire line was upgraded and backfilled with ballast in the 1950s, so today the track lays on grade. The track consists of dual 25-pound gauge rails laid on wood ties on top of a bed of ballast. It consists of several components to keep the cable and tram car on the track. These include an overhead, sheaves, rollers, and wood blocks.
And the overhead that we just passed, when you start off with a big load, that cable goes way up in the air and it was tearing things up. So they put the overhead in and it holds it in place.
A sheave is a wheel set at an angle to catch a cable when you go around a corner. It keeps the cable straight in the middle of the track to go around the corner so it doesn't have a side pull on the car. Sheaves are real important because if you put a side pull on the car, it pulls the car off the track.
And then you had to make sure that when you're coming down that all the sheaves receive the cable. If it got on the wrong side of the shiv, well, then you're going to come off the track.
We put 4x4 blocks or 4x6 blocks, depending where we needed them, to keep the cable out of the dirt. And the rollers and the blocks were there so it didn't destroy the cable after a year or so.
The cable is, it's the most powerful steel there is, so it'll wear out the shivs and the rollers and everything else before it wears out.
The tram is pulled by a 25-pound, 3/4-inch cable attached to a 75-horsepower hoist. The hoist is housed in a building that is located at the end of the Agnew tram line. It is run by a heavy equipment operator called a hoistman, who communicates with the tram operator and workers riding on the tram.
Now this building here is the hoist house. Its function is to protect the hoist from the elements. It's a cable hoist that plays the cable out when you lower the car. Well, before we had radios, we used to use a Bell signal system similar to mine hoist.
Used to have 2 number 9 wires went all the way from the hoist house all the way down to Russian powerhouse. And when you'd start to get the car all loaded up, ready to go, one guy would walk up to the signal line with we called it a wand. It was a piece of brass on a wood stick, and you'd hit the 2 wires, which makes you circuit, and it'd ring a bell, and a light would go on up in the hoist house.
1 bell, 2 bells, up to 5 bells. And that was the old system where we had a light and a bell hookup. We have a pointer system that's run by a screw driven by a chain over here that's attached to the drum. With that pointer system, we know where the car is on the track at all times. There's a pack station down below that uses this trail next to all the dams here. They go into the backcountry a lot, and they make anywhere from 1 to 5 or 6 trips a day. And they'll have a string of mules. The packer will have at least 5 or 6 mules on a string. We have a lower horse crossing and upper horse crossing down at Angel's Flight down here that the mules will cross.
The policy of the company is always the mules have the right of way. So as soon as you come over the top, and you see the trail and you see the mules sitting there, you always stop for them, let them go first. Then you start going up, because usually the cable scares the mules because they think it's a snake. So when it starts moving, they'll see that thing moving, they think it's a snake, and it spooks them until they get used to it.
Angel's Flight inclines to nearly 60 degrees grade.
It's pretty steep. The Angel's Flight is just about halfway up. You go over it and it creak, and it was pretty high in the air, and just for some reason it just terrified me.
Well, that is very cool, and we'll finish off the Agnew Tram video on Wednesday's newscast. We'll be back with weather and sports.